The council tax has been a bit of a problem for a lot of people in recent years, paying it, especially when the councils up and down the land seem to be running some form of protection racket, a bit like the mafia coming along and saying, well, pay the bill or we'll come and take your property, including your car, or we'll repossess your house. And that doesn't seem to be a very nice way of running a council that is there supposedly for your benefit. Remember, of course, a council is only a business. It's not actually there to assist you. It's there to collect money because it is a corporation, a dead entity, a corporation registered on Dun and Bradstreet. It is there as a business and no more. Well, I wanted to get to the bottom of where does the money go, because some people say it goes to something called the Is it the Consolidate or the Consolidate Fund, or the Consolidated Fund, I believe it's called. And so we're going to get to the bottom of that and have a look and see if that's true or even likely. And so then what happens is it is collected and then dished back to the local councils, and often with a load of what you might call directives from the government for the council to do, such as putting up cameras or plant pots in the middle of the road, or make sure that you turn this town into a 15-minute city, those sort of things. Anyway, we'll get onto that in a minute. But first, I just want to have a quick look at a petition, because there's been a petition that has asked that we leave the World Health Organization, which a lot of people are worried about, because the World Health Organization is that organization that is potentially going to tell us and mandate certain medical interventions if they decide that there is another world crisis, rather than each individual country. So here's the petition itself. I'll leave the link in the description. So this petition is to end the UK's membership of the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization is not a democratically elected body, and we are concerned about the powers that the WHO may be given over sovereign nations in the future. And you can read all about that. Well, as I record this, yesterday the government has responded already, although it hasn't yet. This petition has more time to run and has yet to reach the 100,000 subscriptions. It's just over halfway. Look at that, 57.5, so that it will be forced to have a discussion of it. The response given yesterday is the UK government will not end our WHO membership. We're committed to working with the WHO to tackle the world health issues. We do not, and we will never cede sovereign powers through our partnership, so they say. And yet, if you go onto the WHO's website, this is exactly what they are saying in plain sight that they want to be able to do. And the documents, it seems, have already been signed, and it's just waiting for the clock to tick over. So now, if somebody can prove otherwise to all of that, I'm more than happy. As I say, I'm not always right. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to bring down to you a point of view, and I'm often very concerned about what the situation is, like so many people, and it isn't 100% clear. What also isn't 100% clear is this thing, the Consolidated Fund. And somebody very kindly sent me this document, the Consolidated Fund account for 2018 to 2019. I thought we'd have a brief look at this, because we will see where the money the government collects. So let's just scroll down. Again, I'll put a link in the description so you can have a look at this. This is the Crown copyright publication, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to publish all of it. We're just going to analyse a little bit of it. And the first bit here is really this first page, Performance Report, Overview. The Overview section provides information for the purpose and activities of the Consolidated Fund and a summary of its performance. So here we go, the purpose and activities of the Consolidated Fund account. And right at the beginning, it's this bit that interests me. It says, the Consolidated Fund was set up in 1787 as one fund into which shall flow every stream of public revenue, and from which shall come the supply for every service. the basis of the financial mechanism by which the Consolidated Fund is operated is governed by the Exchequer and the Audit Departments Act in 1866. Okay. So the question I want to know is, does the council tax go in to the Consolidated Fund, as a lot of people are telling me, or does it just stay locally to be spent in the local town, as you might expect? But already, as it said there, it said that the Consolidated Fund is one fund into which shall flow every stream of public revenue, which gives the impression, does it not, that public revenue, such as the council tax, is going into that. Set up in 1789, but it doesn't say it's been revoked. So therefore it must still be fact. But let's just investigate a little bit closer here. And this is the bit I want to look at next. Just this bit here, if I can actually highlight just that bit. In order to separate government revenue and expenditure on the one hand, and government borrowing and lending on the other, the National Loans Fund was established on the 1st of April 1968 by the National Loans Act of 1968 to account for government borrowing and lending, which were until then accounted for within the Consolidatory Fund. Actually, that's not the bit. The bit I wanted to do is here. Here we are, the receipts. This is the bit. This is the bit that makes more sense, of course, to what the question I'm asking is the receipts. So, in other words, the money that's coming in, it says mainly consists of the receipts of the Consolidated Fund, mainly. So that doesn't mean all. It just says mainly. I just say that because it's not 100% clear. Tax revenues, such as those conducted by Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. So again, tax revenues, such as, which doesn't mean limited to, collected by the HMRC. So a tax revenue is clearly a council tax. It's a revenue collected, so it's not limited to those collected by Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. This is obviously the council tax is collected by the council. Other receipts paid over by departments, known as the Consolidated Fund extra receipts. Now, I don't know if that possibly is a department within the council. Maybe it is. But I think tax revenues already says it. Tax type revenues, such as fines, penalties, and certain license fees paid over by departments known as trust statements income. So that probably isn't. Repayments from the contingencies fund, which doesn't sound like it is, and balancing payments from this thing that we looked over here, the National Loans Fund, when daily payments by the Consolidated Fund exceeds its receipts. And so what is it mainly for, this fund that all the money is collected into? Supplying services. So there we go. It is supplying the services of the council. So that to me says that it's being collected by the council. It's being taken to the Consolidated Fund. So it's not local, and then reallocated. Supply services, which are payments issued to government departments to finance their expenditure. So that seems to be quite clear. Standing services, which are charges exempt from any need to be voted annually by Parliament, because it has by statute permanent authorised payments. That could be it, I suppose. Standing services and various other things. Salaries, pensions, people in the whole government. Obviously the whole government are being paid for out of all sorts of bits of tax, and so on. But so in other words, it doesn't actually mention by word, and I've not been able to find it within the document, the words council tax. But for me, the damning evidence is tax revenues. And that to me would say that the council tax is a tax revenue. Now, you may disagree. You're very welcome to disagree. I'm not saying that I'm absolutely right, but I'm just trying to decipher if that is true. And so this is what I've been led to believe, that the money is collected at the council level, it goes to this consolidated fund, and then is reallocated with specific directions and what the council can do with it. And that may be some of the government policies that nobody's actually voted for, such as implementing surveillance cameras, the restriction cameras, so that if you in a 15-minute city, if you go from here to here more than 100 times, you will be penalised. And then those penalties are collected, and they too go into this consolidatory fund, or the can't even remember what it's called, the Consolidated Fund. So there you are. That does seem to be where it goes into. So it's not local. And I don't know that that's necessarily fair if you, the people in your own town, decide actually we could do a better job if we didn't have a council that was extracting our money, going to this fund, which goes to all sorts of other things, including, presumably, all the other funding. If all the funds go into this one fund, it goes into a fund that is supporting wars, terrorism, the murder of people. If an army goes in and you and I have not voted for that army, an English army, a British army, a government army, to go overseas or to supply, let's say, weapons, or to get involved in any of these things, and we've not voted for it, then it means we're paying to support the act of violence which we've not voted for. And if that is how the council tax is being funded, and now I believe that is, then is it not true, as Chris Coverdale says, that actually it is illegal to fund terrorism or indeed the murder of other people or arms sales? Well, if the government is doing that, which blatantly they are, and the money is going to this consolidated fund, which it blatantly seems to be doing, and it's illegal for us to fund murder or the supply of weapons to other countries and things, then clearly we should not be paying this fund. We could certainly do something a lot better by paying this fund more locally to a local council that is perhaps the People's Council, in the way that it happens in the fictitious town of Biggleswick, in which they turned their back on the existing council because they had this unfair system, which, as I said at the beginning, is like a protection racket: pay up or we'll take your possessions. It seems to me that we need a completely different service. This does not seem to be acceptable. So be interested in your views on that. So big thanks to the people who've sent in those documents to me. And by the way, thank you for your emails. If you are sending things to me, documents or website addresses, URLs, etc., are much more preferable than videos, because if you send me a video, sometimes they're an hour, sometimes they're 2 hours long, sometimes people send me the same video, and it's very difficult to watch all of those. If you send me links to actual things I can read, articles, publications, those sort of things, I can actually read those a lot quicker, and I can share them, if they're relevant, with you, the viewer, much more quickly. So just bear that in mind. Anyway, I'd be interested in your comments on the Consolidate Fund, and we'll progress from here and try and unravel what's going on.